Today we're going to do the final transmission assembly by adding the sealant and oiling up the components around. So we're just going to dab a little bit of oil on the components to make sure that the case slides together pretty easy. You want to oil up the shift forks here. Reverse light of the gear shaft, and I just did the differential and counter and main shafts. Alright, now we're going to add sealant. What I already did is I ran a fresh clean rag over with some degreaser to take all the oil off, because you want to make sure you get all the oil so the RTV sealant sticks. I generally use RTV sealant, which you can pick up at Advanced Auto. Honda Bond I guess works great too. I've personally never used it, but so basically you just want to continue around and keep adding sealant. You don't need to go crazy, you just need a thin coat all the way around it. Alright, now that we have the one half of the case done, we got to hurry up here to get the other half of the case done before the silicone sealant starts setting up. So basically just do the same exact thing on the other half, real thin coat, because you're coating both sides. So you don't need a lot, you just need to make sure it's covered, and if there isn't anything special about it, just get it on there. Try not to get it too glopped up, because you're going to just squeeze most of it out anyway. Just leave enough to make a seal. So okay, so last thing here, we have this tab. I'm going to make sure this tab is in the 12 o'clock position. That lines up in here in the transmission. I didn't say that in the earlier videos, so hopefully you guys watch this one before you try to put the case on. Just make sure it's in the 12 o'clock position and it'll go right on. Alright, so we got everything full of RTV sealant, nice thin coat. Take the case without sticking your hand in it as much as possible and get it on. Alright, take two. I didn't have this bearing on there, so I pulled the bearing out of the case and stuck it in, and realized that I forgot to do that. That makes it a lot easier because there's a taper on it, so it's a nice lead in for the case. So take two. Let's try this again. This is undoubtedly the hardest part. Get it most of the way down. See, you have a little gap there. Now what you want to do is pull back and forth on the shifter. Okay, now we have the RTV sealant all on both sides of the case. We're going to try putting this thing back together. So, wrap it on. This is always the trickiest part of getting it to line up and drop in. You want to be careful so you don't break anything. I found that with this strands, a lot of times you mess with a shifter and it'll drop into position like that. So now we want to spread the C-clip up top with a pair of pliers, and it should drop the rest of the way on. Alright, so you just spread the C-clip open as much as you possibly can and tap the case down. Once you tap the case down, it should close up the gap. Once he closes the gap up, bolts in. Okay, now once you get the case on and the case is bolted up, or you know, where the mated up well, I should say, put all your bolts back in. You want to try to work as swiftly as you can to do this. because the sealant is going to dry on you. You got probably about 4 or 5 minutes work time. So, all right, now we got all the bolts in. You just want to go along and just snug them all up by hand right away, so the sealant squeezes out. You don't need to torque them to spec right away. You just want to snug them up, and then that'll push the sealant out, the excess sealant out, and you're good to go. Once you do that, then you can take an extra minute and make sure you get your torque spec right, and then you're done with this step. Alright, so now you want to put your ball and detents in. Get those started. Your other ball and detent. Got your reverse idler shaft. That started in there. Then you want to just torque all those up to specification. Stand over here because I'm going to be in here. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to tap the shaft so the bearing moves down. We're going to tap the transmission onto the table so the bearing drops in to the seat. So you just basically pick it up, give it 2 nice shots on solid wood surface, and then verify that the C-clip's in position. Okay, now you see how the C-clip right here is dropped into the relief onto the bearing. That's what you want to make sure, that thing's set in place. Then once you do that, then you can take your plug and you can put your plug in and torque this to specification. Alright, so the final thing you want to do is you want to wait until the RTV sealant that's squeezed out here, you want to wait till it sets up. If you try to clean it right away, it's going to make a mess all over the place. Wait till it sets up, and then you can go along with like a scraper or even your fingernail, and it should peel right off. And then you can prep your case and install the reverse switch and install over on top of the transmission over here the speedometer gear.